Tonight on Y News, Wuhan City, China implements lockdown as coronavirus outbreak kills 17 in China. The Department of Health says there are still no confirmed cases of the 2019 novel coronavirus in the Philippines. Local test on a 5-year-old Chinese boy in Cebu City shows he is negative for coronavirus infection. Authorities are still waiting for the confirmatory test results from Australia. Low-frequency tremors and less sulfur dioxide observed from the Taal volcano, but state seismologists warn that eruption threat remains. And President Rodrigo Duterte signs a law that increases excise taxes on alcohol and e-cigarettes. Good evening. The Department of Health assures there is no confirmed case of the Wuhan coronavirus in the Philippines. The DOH also advises the public to follow health advisories and declarations only from authorized government agencies. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Department of Health continues to be on alert as they wait for the test results of the samples from a Chinese boy in Cebu City suspected of 2019 novel coronavirus infection. The samples have been sent to Australia to determine what strain of coronavirus infected the child. DOH spokesman Undersecretary Eric Domingo assures there is no confirmed case of 2019 nCOV infection in the Philippines. Until the result arrives from Australia, the Chinese boy will remain in an isolation area.
Until now, wala pa tayong confirmatory test. The patient is still admitted. And magaling naman na yung bata, may konting ubo na lang. The patient's having some mild cough but no fever. And so far, the patient's doing well, but we are not discharging the child.
The flight attendant reportedly coming from Wuhan City, central China, has tested negative for virus infection after quarantine. Even a family that arrived in Manila from Hong Kong have not been seen with symptoms and are not sick.
Walang sakit sila. So, wala namang need for us to do any tests on them or to admit them or to hold them in isolation. The advice really is for them to continue keeping in touch with us, and then we will be monitoring them.
It is also a great assurance for the public that starting 10 o'clock this morning, there will be no inbound flights from Wuhan City, Hubei Province, China. Wuhan City has also shut down its airports and train stations.
So yung Wuhan, sinarhan talaga ngayon ng China. It's a closed city. And we do not expect any flights coming from Wuhan to the Philippines.
The Emergency Committee of the World Health Organization are set to reconvene to tackle whether there will be a declaration of global health emergency due to the increasing number of cases of the new strain of coronavirus. Should the WHO declare a pandemic, the DOH will be the lead agency for case management and disease control in the Philippines.
Well, we have the infrastructure and we have the system ready. It's really just a matter of activating it. Ever since SARS, meron na naman tayong quick response na system na gagawin. In this case, nagkakaroon lang ng konting modification kasi from SARS to MERS-CoV to itong bago natin na the novel coronavirus for 2019, they're not exactly all the same, not even clinically, no? Like this one is apparently has less infectious siya.
The DOH calls on the public to believe only authorized government agencies. As for declarations of confirmed cases of the yet undetermined strain of coronavirus, misinformation from online sites without verification and confirmation from the health department may cause panic. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The public need not worry about a flight that landed in Manila from Hong Kong. All airports and seaports across the country are now implementing stringent measures to thwart the entry of the yet undetermined coronavirus. Joanano tells us why.
The management of Cebu Pacific Airlines say the passengers and the crew of Flight 5J111 from Hong Kong that arrived in Manila yesterday have been strictly screened by the Bureau of Quarantine at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. This after a report that 4 passengers of that flight had been suspected of getting infected by the 2019 novel coronavirus.
Wala pong naging aberya, lahat po ng mga pasaherong doon ay and the crew ay nag-screen and wala pong bakuna. So lahat po ay nakalusot.
The passengers were advised to immediately seek medical attention should they experience flu-like symptoms. The airline also say they have disinfected the aircraft. Meanwhile, the Department of Transportation has ordered strict measures be imposed at all airports and seaports across the country. The measure aims to prevent possible threats due to the yet-to-be-determined coronavirus that reportedly originated from Wuhan City in neighboring China. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, has reactivated its communicable disease preparedness procedures in all CAAP-operated airports, particularly those with international flights. CAAP and the Manila International Airport Authority are now in close coordination with the Department of Health and the Bureau of Quarantine to support the efforts to secure airports from the new strain of coronavirus.
Meron ho kaming binibigay na isolation room. Meron ho silang napag-usapan na exit doors na kung kinakailangan na merong kailangan itakbo sa ospital ay ng RITM o San Lazaro, dadaan ho sila ron. Of course, obviously with coordination with immigration and customs kasi siyempre galing sa foreign origin yon.
The Philippine Ports Authority and the Philippine Coast Guard are also on high alert. Stringent measures are also in place, especially in areas frequently visited by tourists such as Bohol and Caticlan in Aklan. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
A 5-year-old Chinese boy isolated in a hospital in Cebu City may be discharged anytime soon, health authorities say. Meanwhile, all Region 7 DOH hospitals are on code white alert. From Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu, here's Gladys Tuwabi to tell us why live. Yes, Gladys, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Jago. A Chinese boy suspected of Wuhan corona infection is now in stable condition, with no fever, cough, and other signs associated with the virus. However, he remains in an isolation room of a hospital in Cebu City together with his mother.
The boy is still confined and under isolation while awaiting for the test we sent out to Research Institute for Tropical Medicine. And as of now, Central Visayas still has no confirmed case of the 2019 novel coronavirus. What we have is a confirmed case for the non-specific pan-coronavirus, which can evolve and infect humans and then spread between humans and other humans.
The mother of the Chinese boy also turned out negative for virus infection. The Department of Health Region 7 clarifies the boy's condition was not detected by the Mactan Cebu International Airport's thermal scanner since he did not manifest fever when he arrived at the airport. Mactan Cebu International Airport is equipped with 6 thermal scanners to monitor the body temperatures of passengers who arrive on board international flights. The DOH has placed all the DOH hospitals on code white alert status since January 21st. Jago?
Yes, thank you, Gladys Tuwabi, reporting live from Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu. The Bureau of Quarantine in Davao strictly monitors foreign direct flights at the Davao International Airport after reports of an outbreak in China caused by a novel coronavirus first seen in Wuhan City, the capital of central China's Hubei province. Janice Inhente details why.
5 foreign direct flights in Davao International Airport, primarily those coming from China, are being strictly monitored by the Department of Health Bureau of Quarantine. According to Dr. Wilson Lim, there are 2 direct flights that arrive at the Davao Airport from China in a week. An estimate of 130 to 150 passengers are on board each of those flights. The Bureau of Quarantine assure they have enough workforce to secure the airport and their personnel.
Sa airport, meron tayong 9 personnel na 24/7 na naka-duty. Tapos we have 2 thermal scanner naka-deploy dun sa airport. May naka-standby rin tayong mga PPEs dun sa airport. Tsaka may mga vaccine na rin po yung mga tao natin against flu.
The BOQ hasn't recorded any case of infection of the yet undetermined strain of the coronavirus, nor seen any symptoms of it in Davao Airport. The quarantine medical officer also reminds passengers to be extra cautious to prevent respiratory tract infection or transmission of the flu virus.
Ang advice po namin sa mga pasahero, always wash your hands, cook your food thoroughly, avoid close contact with sick people, gano'n. Tapos, pag umuubo or bumabahing, cover your mouth or your nose.
Janice Tinhente, UNTV, News and Rescue, Davao City.
Malacanang assures the public the government is on top of the situation amid the outbreak of the 2019 novel coronavirus or 2019 nCOV in China. For now, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says there is no alarming level that might prompt the issuance of travel ban on travelers from Wuhan, China. But once there is a recommendation from the Department of Health and other government agencies to suspend flights from Wuhan City, then the Duterte administration will reconsider. There have been confirmed cases of the 2019 nCOV in some countries in Asia, as well as in the United States of America.
I talked with Secretary Duque, and he said that we are on top of the situation. It does not reach an alarming level that we had to do some drastic measures like prohibiting people from entering, especially those suspected of having that kind of virus.
People in Wuhan, China cannot leave the city for their celebration of the upcoming Lunar New Year in an attempt to quarantine a deadly virus. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization's or WHO Emergency Committee has announced it will not yet declare a global emergency over the new virus. Kath Dumaraos details this in her report.
Wuhan, a Chinese city of 11 million people, is to temporarily shut public transport as it tries to halt the outbreak of a new strain of virus. Those living in the city have been advised not to leave in a week when millions of Chinese are traveling for the upcoming Lunar New Year holiday. The respiratory illness has spread to other parts of China, with some cases in other countries, including the U.S. There are more than 500 confirmed cases and 17 people have died. Known for now as 2019 nCOV, the virus is understood to be a new strain of coronavirus not previously identified in humans. The SARS or severe acute respiratory syndrome virus that killed nearly 800 people globally in the early 2000s was also a coronavirus, as is the common cold. All the fatalities so far have been in Hubei, the province around Wuhan. Outside mainland China, health authorities have tallied at least 3 infected patients in Thailand and 1 each in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Macau. On Tuesday, health officials confirmed that a man who had recently arrived in Washington state after a visit to Wuhan had become the first U.S. confirmed case. Meanwhile, after a day of discussions in Geneva, the World Health Organization's or WHO Emergency Committee has announced it will not yet declare a global emergency over the new virus. Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus said more information was needed about the spread of the infection. The Committee of Health Experts will meet again on Thursday. A global emergency is the highest level of alarm the WHO can sound and has previously been used in response to swine flu, Zika virus, and Ebola. Kat Numaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Authorities fear the risk of the spread of the yet identified new strain of coronavirus as the New Year celebration of Chinese nationals in the Philippines draws near. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
Experts remain uncertain of the information on the new strain of coronavirus reported to have originated from Wuhan City, Hubei, China. An infected person may pass the virus on to another individual just by physical contact. The number of fatalities keeps increasing as the virus continues to spread, especially across mainland China. To thwart the spread of the virus, also called by experts as Wuhan virus, the Philippine government, particularly the health department, advises the public to avoid going to crowded places. But the worst fear of the Philippine authorities is likely to happen as Chinese nationals prepare for their celebration of the Chinese New Year. In Binondo, Manila, about 1,000 individuals are expected to attend a countdown to the Chinese New Year tomorrow night. According to one of the event organizers, they are only relying on the preventive measures of the authorities and hope to pull off an enjoyable and safe occasion for everyone.
Hopefully, we'll be able to pull off something that would be enjoyable, but at the same time be safe for everyone, especially since the lineup's really big and we're expecting a lot of people to attend.
In Chinatown, some use face masks to avoid contracting a contagious disease. But face masks have been scarce as even medical supply store lacks stocks of face masks due to the recent volcanic ash fall.
Ayon yata dito sa mga iba naming mga kasamang naririto, dito sa parte ng mga medical supply, karamihan halos yata wala na rin silang makuha na 95. Halos nagkaubusan.
To avoid getting infected, the DOH advises regular hand wash and to maintain proper hygiene. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, City of Manila.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I'm Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. Low-frequency tremors and less sulfur dioxide observed on Taal volcano, but state seismologists warn threat of eruption remains. 2 convicted inmates behind the killing of former Batangas 2nd District Representative Edgar Mendoza Sr. and his 2 companions, according to police. President Rodrigo Duterte mulls over U.S. President Donald Trump's invitation to the U.S.-ASEAN Summit in Las Vegas in March. Newly appointed PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa relieves 3 police officials from their posts for playing golf on weekdays. And President Duterte signs a law that increases excise taxes on alcohol and electronic cigarettes. Good evening. Activities in the main crater of the Taal volcano may have been weaker, but the signs of rising magma are still visible, according to the latest report from the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. Grace Casin reports why.
The sulfur dioxide emission of Taal volcano has further dwindled. The volcano's seismic activity appears to be relatively coming down as of this morning, but the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, is still not discounting the possibility of an imminent hazardous eruption. Based on PHIVOLCS 8 a.m. advisory, the Taal volcano has generated weak to moderate emissions of white steam about 50 to 500 meters high from the main crater. Emission of sulfur dioxide was measured at an average of 141 tons per day. Since yesterday morning, PHIVOLCS has recorded 467 volcanic earthquakes at the Taal volcano network. Such intense activity likely signifies continuous magmatic intrusion beneath the Taal edifice. PHIVOLCS emphasizes that such may lead to further eruptive activity. Alert Level 4 remains in effect over Taal volcano. According to the agency, the hazardous explosive eruption is still possible within hours or days. Volcano experts strongly reiterate total evacuation from Taal volcano island and high-risk areas identified in hazard maps. PHIVOLCS is continuously monitoring the Taal volcano's activities. The agency vows to provide updates for further developments in the Taal volcano region. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue.
The city government of Tagaytay in Cavite province has designated several hours in the morning and in the afternoon for residents in a low-lying barangay to return to their homes. Voluntary evacuation is still advised to locals. Nina Armilio will detail why.
Evelyn Mandap is one of the residents here in Barangay Bagong Tubig, Tagaytay City, Cavite, who fled their homes due to the Taal volcano's eruption. Bagong Tubig is among the barangays declared by the Department of the Interior and local government implemented with mandatory evacuation. But Evelyn and other residents return to their homes every now and then to feed their livestock.
Naghintay po kami makababa para lang po sa mga alaga naming mga hayop dahil kung pababayaan po namin sila hindi makakain, lalo po kaming hindi kami magkakaroon ng uuwian naming mga hanap buhay.
To grant the residents' request to visit their places even for a short time, authorities have begun implementing window hours.
Merong iba na nakikiusap talaga na yung kanilang mga alagang mga hayop na pakainin, no? So ginagawa naman po ng paraan ng ating local chief o police.
Barangay Bagong Tubig residents are allowed to go to their area from 8 to 10 a.m. and 2 to 5 p.m. Authorities continue to urge residents to voluntarily evacuate because it would be difficult for the authorities to rescue those in low-lying areas like Barangay Bagong Tubig.
Mahirap silang iahon dahil nandun sila sa baba. So we decided na nandito na po sila sa taas.
Such measure of the city government is to keep the locals safe from a feared major eruption of the volcano. Authorities say residents will be allowed to return home once they are certain the volcano's activities do not pose any danger. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Calabarzon Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council conducts profiling of the needs of evacuees in every evacuation center in the region. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
To better provide the needs of families affected by the eruption of the Taal volcano seeking refuge in evacuation centers in the region, the Calabarzon Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council identifies the exact needs of the displaced residents. Relief goods fill the rooms of the Taal Volcano Eruption Disaster Response and Donation Hub in Batangas City, as well as the evacuation centers in various areas in Batangas and Cavite. Food and clothes abound, but evacuees are requesting other things to fill their necessities. The UNTV News team visited some evacuation centers to find out what things must be provided to the evacuees. Some request for face towels and multivitamins. Others say they need additional hygiene kits, soap, garbage bags, unused undergarments, eating utensils, diapers, slippers for children, and many more. Each evacuation center has their own set of needs.
So yung ating Department of Social Welfare and Development sa national level ay bumaba na din po para tulungan ang ating provincial office po ng PSWD o para mas mapabilis yung ginagawang profiling.
Authorities assure that once the profiling is done, supplies will be sent immediately and accordingly. Authorities also plan to situate evacuees from the same municipality in one evacuation center or in nearby areas. The aim is to help the local government units in monitoring their constituents and fast-track the release of services and aid our displaced fellowmen's needs. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Batangas.
The new Philippine National Police Chief relieves 3 senior police officers in Central Visayas. Police General Archie Gamboa also warns police regional directors throughout the country and reminds them of the one-strike policy. Leia Ilagan reports why.
Strike 1 na si Regional Director PRO 7.
This was the warning of PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa to Central Visayas Police Regional Director, Police Brigadier General Val de Leon. Strike 1 on the Regional Police Director comes after his 3 senior officers were caught playing golf every Tuesday and Thursday. The 3 police officers are Pro 7 Comptroller Chief Police Colonel Dennis Artiel, Finance Chief Police Lieutenant Colonel Richard Badang, and PDEG Chief Police Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Mayam. The PNP chief says that Artiel, Badang, and Mayam violated his directive, so they must be relieved from their post.
Kung bored sila, they play on Wednesday. That's why I have enough basis why they should be relieved.
The 3 will face administrative cases for grave misconduct.
I have ordered the reassignment to the Personnel Holding and Accounting Unit at the National Headquarters while undergoing investigation for flagrant violation of a specific directive, an act that constitutes grave misconduct.
Gamboa adds his directive is part of the internal cleansing he is implementing in the organization. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Philippine National Police Chief considers the Mendoza slay case solved. This comes several days after the bodies of the 3 victims were found in a burnt car in Tiaong, Quezon. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
The mastermind of the killings of former Batangas 2nd District Representative Attorney Edgar Mendoza, his aide Nicanor Mendoza, and his driver Ruel Ruiz is detained in the New Bilibid prison. He is Sherwin Sanchez, a client of Congressman Mendoza in a case in 2015. Sanchez was imprisoned after Mendoza lost the case. Sanchez refused to pay the lawyer. CIDG Director Police Brigadier General Joel Coronel says Mendoza was collecting millions worth of cash and properties from Sanchez.
That the services of Attorney Mendoza was hired by these two for several transactions. And yes, it appears that Attorney Mendoza is a lawyer for the principal suspect, Sherwin Sanchez.
While serving the time in Bilibid, Sanchez met Arthur Fajardo, the leader of Fajardo Kidnap for Ransom Group. Fajardo was then asked to look for hired killer through his wife Jael. Aside from Sanchez, the other suspects in the slaying of the three victims are Cristina Fernandez, Madonna Palermo, Carlo Acuña, and Erickson Balbastro. All are members of the Fajardo Kidnap for Ransom Group. Their plan was to kill Mendoza in exchange for 100,000 pesos. The group was given a 10,000 peso initial payment. The suspect set January 8 as their scheduled meeting with Mendoza, telling the victim he would be given payment from his client Sanchez. But instead of sending money, Sanchez sent hired killers.
There was a disagreement on the amount to be collected, and also based on the revelations made by the witnesses and some of the suspects themselves in a confession, there was really no intention on the part of the suspects to pay the amount agreed by them.
Coronel adds based on CCTV footage, Acuña fits Mendoza. Fernandez is the caretaker of the house in Calamba where the meeting was held. Palermo put sleeping pills in the drinks offered to the ex-Solon, his aide, and his driver. Balbastro was seen driving Mendoza's car going to Quezon. The PNP have ordered a manhunt operation against a certain Rodel Mercado, who is said to have stabbed the three victims to death while inside the car. The CIDG director also explains the killing of the aide and the driver can be considered as collateral damage because the suspects were targeting only the ex-Solon. The suspects are now facing 3 counts of murder. PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa considers the case solved.
This case is considered solved and is now elevated to the prosecution arm of the justice system.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
President Rodrigo Duterte signs the law that increases the excise taxes on alcohol, e-cigarettes, and vapor products. Republic Act number 11467 aims to generate additional revenue for the government's universal health care program. The new law raises excise taxes on alcohol to 35 to 50 pesos, while the additional sin tax on e-cigarettes is now 25 to 45 pesos. The Department of Finance estimates billions of pesos of additional revenues for 5 years from 2020 to 2024 to be generated through the law. The law includes a provision that exempts medicines for heart disease, diabetes, and high cholesterol from value-added tax beginning January 2020. The president has also vetoed one provision of the new law.
That sin tax law that has been approved, there is one provision there that was vetoed, Section 5, regarding the authority of the court to first grant seizure of properties as well as searching.
Malacanang is not worried over slower economic growth in 2019. The Philippine Statistics Authority reports that the country's gross domestic product, or GDP, was 5.9% last year. It means the country failed to reach its target of 6 to 7% GDP. This is the slowest pace in 8 years, according to Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Perña. The slow economic growth is due to various challenges faced by the country in 2019, such as delayed approval of last year's national budget, African swine fever issue, and the election ban on infrastructure spending.
I think we have competent economic managers. They're doing their job very well.
If your family is planning to go to Baguio this month, be sure to bring your jackets along as the State Weather Bureau forecasts lower temperatures in the coming days. Yam Escala reports why.
Temperature in the summer capital of the Philippines, Baguio City, continued to drop in the past days. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAGASA Baguio Station recorded the lowest temperature in the city at 11.4 degrees Celsius experienced last January and yesterday morning. According to PAGASA, such temperatures will probably persist until the month of February.
Mayroon tayong forecast ng light rains due to northeast monsoon. So mga ibang parte ng Cordillera, especially dito sa Benguet, may mga pag-uulan din, pag-ambon. At ito'y magpapatuloy pa hanggang sa susunod na buwan, February. Kasi karamihan naman kasi na pinakamababa nating temperatura sa February. Ito yung talagang naire-record natin.
Meanwhile, visitors continue to arrive in the Cordillera region to enjoy the cold weather. Jomelyn Ancheta went all the way from Ilocos just to feel the cool breeze of the mountain province.
Doon po sa pinanggalingan namin is very mainit po yung weather. So parang yung mas dinadayo po namin dito is not just the view, but also the weather po. Para ma-experience din naman po namin yung cold weather.
This time of the year also opens great business opportunities. Just like Jerry Capistarano, who owns a boat at the Burnham Park, and Marilo Codice, who sells jackets and bonnets. They said their earnings had gone up due to tourist influx.
Lumalakas kasi gusto nila itong klima dito na ganito, na malamig. Kaya ngayon naka-bonnet na ako, giniginaw na ako.
Siyempre, pag-akyat yung mga turista, bibili sila ng sombrero kasi malamig dito sa Baguio. At siyempre, sila'y malalamigan at bibili sila ng sombrero.
The lowest recorded temperature in Baguio City was 6.3 degrees Celsius on January 18, 1961. Yam Escala, UNTV News and Rescue.
Welcome back to Y News. United States President Donald Trump has recently sent formal invitations to all ASEAN leaders to ASEAN-US Summit in March, but President Rodrigo Duterte ponders over the invite. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
There are some American senators who are not happy to see President Rodrigo Duterte visiting their country. The Philippine chief executive is uncertain if the American government would give him a visa. These are the things the president is considering for his attendance in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN United States of America Summit in Las Vegas scheduled in March.
From what I look at his responses, gusto niya pumunta. Yan ang nasa isip ko. But, paano ko pupunta? Kung yan naman ang sinasabi niyong kondisyon sa Amerika. Hindi natin alam, makakapasok ako doon. Wala pa nga akong visa. Di ba? Pinapabayaan niya namin mag-US government, mag-decide kayo. You're still inviting me or not?
However, the palace clarifies President Duterte is not setting any conditions for America concerning the summit.
Wala naman siyang impose na condition. He just expressed certain sentiments relative to some issues that may affect his entry.
U.S. President Trump has personally invited the Philippine chief executive twice before to visit America, but President Duterte rejected the invitations due to extreme weather conditions in the U.S. and the long haul. Of late, the U.S. has approved the entry ban on Philippine government officials allegedly behind the detention of Senator Leila de Lima. Yesterday, former Philippine National Police Chief and now Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa confirmed that his U.S. visa has already been canceled. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, Alex. President Donald Trump announces that he is planning to add more countries to his exiting travel ban to bar more foreign nationals from entry into the U.S. He emphasizes that the U.S. has to be safe amid what's going on in the world. Mirasola Bogadillo details why.
President Donald Trump says he plans to widen a controversial travel ban that prohibits nearly all people from 7 countries from traveling or immigrating to the United States, calling it a very powerful ban that's necessary to ensure national security. Trump says that he will be adding a couple of countries to the ban during an interview at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The current ban, signed by Mr. Trump 2 years ago, closed U.S. borders to citizens from 7 countries, most with Muslim majorities. Libya, Iran, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, North Korea, and Venezuela are affected. Countries from Europe, Africa, and Asia are being considered for the expanded order, according to U.S. media. He gave no further details on which countries would be targeted or how many, but said that the information would be released very shortly. White House spokesman Hogan Gidley declined to comment on any pending decisions, but said the travel ban had been a success. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
UN human rights experts have demanded an immediate investigation into allegations Saudi Arabia's crown prince hacked Amazon boss Jeff Bezos' phone. They said Mohammed bin Salman should also be investigated for continuous, direct, and personal efforts to target perceived opponents. A message from a phone number used by the prince has been implicated in a breach of Bezos' data. The kingdom's U.S. embassy has denied the absurd story. But the independent UN experts Agnes Calamard, Special Rapporteur on Summary Executions and Extrajudicial Killings, and David Kay, Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression, said the Crown Prince's possible involvement had to be investigated. Relations between Saudi Arabia and Mr. Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post, worsened after Jamal Khashoggi, a prominent critic of the Saudi government and one of the newspaper's staff, was murdered in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in 2018. Thousands of workers are engaged in the process of dismantling the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant after the 2011 catastrophe, but time is running out to find a solution for storing the vast volume of radioactive water being recovered from the site. RL Camilla reports why.
On March 2011, a magnitude 9 earthquake and subsequent tsunami destroyed 4 of the 6 reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, which led to the worst nuclear tragedy since Chernobyl in 1986. Works are currently focusing on extracting fuel from the reactors, lifting out the radioactive debris, and collecting the contaminated water in the hopes that the authorities and Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, agree how to get rid of it. The liquid is a mix of cooling water and rain that has come in through the holes in the roofs of the reactors. Right now, the water is being stored in 965 vast tanks in different parts of the site. There are 1.18 million cubic meters in storage, and by the end of the year, there will be about 1.37 million. And the space available for storing the water is limited. It will run out by mid-2022 when a new solution will be needed. The authorities and TEPCO have been weighing up several options when it comes to disposing of the wastewaters. Keeping them in storage in the long term has been discounted, but the possibilities of decontaminating the liquid and disposing of it in the ocean or evaporating them into the atmosphere remain on the table. Japanese authorities and TEPCO claim that the water that ends up being released will have had adequate treatment to get rid of all the radioactive elements, except for tritium, an isotope of hydrogen that, according to TEPCO, emits mild radiation and is naturally present in water and vapor. Radioactive water was released into the sea following the nuclear accident in 2011, which was devastating to the area's fishing industry. 9 years after the nuclear accident, fishermen in ports like Onahama, south of Daiichi, are trying to recover their livelihoods. Onahama's fishing industry currently captures around 15.5% of the pre-nuclear disaster levels because markets prefer fish from other areas, and Fukushima is having a hard time shaking off its bad reputation, despite rigorous systems in place to detect possible contamination. RL Camilla, UNTV News and Rescue, Japan.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you. Kat Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. On January 22, 2020, an astronaut aboard the International Space Station took this photograph of resuspended ash near Taal Volcano Island. According to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, strong low-level winds lifted ash lying on the volcano and sent it streaming southwest toward the town of Dacanlao. The image was taken by a member of the Expedition 61 crew. The International Space Station program supports the laboratory as part of the ISS National Lab to help astronauts take pictures of Earth that will be of the greatest value to scientists and the public. Following an eruption in early January 2020, Taal remains on a level 4 alert with a hazardous eruption still possible. Despite this difficult time and the challenges Batangueños are facing in evacuation centers, they are not losing hope that they could recover from what they are experiencing now. In fact, they can even have some fun despite their situation. Nina Armilio reports.
Sound familiar? Nope, no one is graduating today. This is a scene of donation giving in Barangay Balayong, Bawan, Batangas. A resident here has the kind heart to help 75 families that fled their homes in Barangay Bukal, Matingain, Ayaw-Iyaw, Tubigan, Wawa, and Payapa in the town of Lemery. In this big house, those families are temporarily staying after authorities told them to flee their homes due to fears of another eruption of the Taal volcano. The evacuees' names are called one by one to receive their part of the donations.
Yung lahat ng mga aking gamit, mga kumot, unang cover ng higa namin, mga kutsyon, pinadala ko lahat din. Bahala na kung sinong makagamit. Pero hindi ko akalain din sila karami. Dahil alam ko yung mga 5, 6, 7, ganon. Alam ako naman kitaboy. Okay lang naman, masaya.
Some netizens are glad to learn about the positive outlook of these Batangueños. In another evacuation center, an acting mayor, or an evacuee acting like a mayor of the town, acted as if he was monitoring the distribution of donations for the evacuees.
Mayor, kumusta naman ang mga evacuee natin dyan?
Ayos naman, na-deliver na namin kasi
may friend mo mga bodyguard?
Goods, nadala na namin doon.
Okay.
Of course, the acting mayor came with his aides.
Alcohol.
And to pass the time, these residents affected by the Taal volcano eruption danced and watched the evacuees dancing here at a covered court. Everyone was smiling and glad, not minding their uncertain situation after the volcanic eruption. They remain positive. They remain hopeful that they can recover and start again when they return to their own homes. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
President Rodrigo Duterte threatened tonight that he will terminate the visiting forces agreement between the Philippines and the United States if Washington does not reverse its cancellation of Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa's visa. President Rodrigo Duterte said he is giving the U.S. government a month to correct the cancellation of de la Rosa's visa. And those are the reasons behind the news this January 23, 2020. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am Alex Baltazar. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant sound bites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Until now, wala pa tayong confirmatory test. The patient is still admitted and magaling naman na yung bata, may konting ubo na lang. The patient's having some mild cough but no fever, and so far the patient's doing well, but we are not discharging the child.
Sa airport, meron tayong 9 personnel na 24/7 na naka-duty. Tapos we have 2 thermal scanner naka-deploy dun sa airport. May naka-standby rin tayong mga PPEs dun sa airport. Tsaka may mga vaccine na rin po yung mga tao natin against flu.
I think in coordination with Manila City Hall naman and the police, they're probably doing preventive measures as we speak about the disease or whatever coronavirus might be there.
Naghintay po kami makababa para lang po sa mga alaga naming mga hayop dahil kung pababayaan po namin sila hindi makakain, lalo po hindi kami magkakaroon ng uuwian naming mga hanap buhay.
The services of Attorney Mendoza was hired by these two for several transactions. And yes, it appears that Attorney Mendoza is a lawyer for the principal suspect, Sherwin Sanchez.
Strike 1 na si Regional Director PRO 7. Kung bored sila, they play on Wednesday. That's why I have enough basis why they should be relieved.